code. Meeting's called to order. As you can see, I'm taking over Eagle's spot today. He's in Montreal, enjoying the culture of Montreal, I guess, I hope. But thank you for joining online. That helps. We certainly have quorum today. Meetings and would ask we continue that practice. I will try to comply with this request as well. Also, as we do at FACT and we'll continue this practice today, the board will challenge the content presented. This is not a challenge of all the hard work and team dedication, but the board wants to ensure the UNA addresses the needs of the neighborhoods. Myself and the full board today want to sincerely thank everyone involved in the daily working of the UNA, dealing with the many issues, questions, projects. We don't say it enough, but we do recognize everyone's efforts. So thank you to all the staff and board members and all. Quiet staff over there. Very intent, yeah. Like, what's he going to do? So agenda, let's start in. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion? Ron, all in favor? Motion passes. Hey, how are you? Welcome. Approval of minutes. Motion that the board approve the May 26, 2026 open session minute meetings as circulated. Did I get a, yeah. Michael, and all in favor? Approved. External reports and presentations, or delegations, sorry, none. External reports and presentation, UBC Campus Community Planning Monthly Report, Carol Jolly, Director of Community Development and Transportation, UBC Campus Community Planning. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Jake. The report is before you. I'm happy to take anything back to the team or attempt to answer questions here. Maybe I'll just point out a couple things in the report. I said this last board meeting, and I'll say it again, we are getting into the season of events. So lots of events happening around campus, particularly things that have impacts on road closures. And so the Vancouver Half Marathon is coming up at the end of June. That will have some impacts to road closures. All the information is available on the link that's contained in the board package. So just maybe point your attention to that and prepare in advance and know what's going on. We're deep into FIFA. Hopefully some of you have been able to enjoy the festivities or maybe even catch a game in real life. Very exciting. And there's a couple of reports in the board report that might be of interest to you, including a progress report on the Neighborhood Climate Action Plan. Another report is a Campus Vision 2050 progress report. And this is something new that campus and community planning is doing just to hold ourselves to account on tracking progress on how we're implementing Campus Vision 2050. So there's a link in there. And then lastly, there was an update to our Vancouver transportation plan that went to our property committee in June. And the link to the report is contained within this board package as well. Happy to take any questions.
Eagle, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I have two questions relating to the Neighborhood Climate Action Plan update, and I'll just ask them both just for convenience at the same time. So first of all, the update notes that carbon emissions are expected to grow until the neighborhood district energy system decarbonization takes place. And so my first question is whether there are any updates or even hints of updates on possibilities and a timeline for the decarbonization of the neighborhood district energy system. And then my second question, you could probably think of this as a rhetorical question, but I will ask it as a question. Can anything be done to discourage the use of natural gas appliances in future Westbrook development? Because I was thinking, with this report on the NCAP, other than the NDES decarbonization, really that's one way that we can have an impact future carbon emissions. There are a lot of other things that are out of our control. So I'll just leave those questions. Thank you.
Thanks for those questions, Eagle. I'll take those back to the sustainability team. Your latter question in particular around natural gas, and see what policy directions or further implementation we can do around that. In terms of decarbonization, I'll find out a little bit more on the status of that, and I can report back to Paul and provide a little bit of more information, and then he can share that with the board.
Michael, you had a question?
Yes, I thank you for the reports. They're very informative. I just had one question and a thank you. The tree removal that's noted on the Folio property, I just was looking at that there. What is that in regards to? And then thank you for the convex mirror. I appreciate Wegland, and I see that that's on the list. So
it's under review, Michael. So I actually don't have a permit, hasn't been issued yet. So I can find out more for you and give you a little bit more information once I get the info from the development team.
Wegland, did you have something?
For this specific tree removal is related to a few trees that is within the building next to the pool. I believe it's related to some of the maintenance issue, but however, I will let Carol to provide more updates. Thank you.
Any other questions for Carol at this time? Also, Chair recognizes Yanbo has joined us online. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. Thanks, Carol. Paul, reports, June management report. You're up first.
Yeah, thanks very much. Typical monthly report outlining activities through the month. I think it's not specifically on here, but I know there continues to be interest around the fire services funding agreement, and we had a late that's not on this report. It'll be on the July report. The executive committee met, and Chair Glassheim and Director Weeb attended that meeting. We were updated by EBC. The province has indicated that they wish to renew the funding agreement without any changes to it other than housekeeping changes. So that process is underway, and we should have that in front of the board for consideration in July. Once we also get population number updates for the calculation. Other than that, I'm happy to respond to any questions you may have on the material submitted.
Any questions for Paul? No questions for Paul. Okay, who's next on the communications report, I guess?
Hi, everybody. Just a couple of things to highlight on my report. The drop-in schedule was already successfully launched. So if you go to myunia.ca/drop-in, you should be able to see the newly designed drop-in schedule there. Also, I wanted to highlight that we are holding a very small ribbon cutting ceremony for the EV charging stations. Those stations have been in operation for a while, but we haven't had kind of the time to kind of schedule an official opening for it. It's the ones at Ross Drive. The opening will be on July 29, 2016 at noon. And we've invited partners from Campus Community Planning and BC Hydro to attend. And there's going to be a small lunch. If you are interested in attending that, please RSVP to me. Happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions? Oh, a very quiet group today. Okay, thank you. Next is recreation report. Dave?
Good evening to the board. My report is in front of you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Just one highlight I wanted to point out. Coach Richard Watson, former member of the UNA board, his team and our team, which is our youth initiative program with U Hill as secondary, flag football tournament, finished 4th in the province out of 48 teams. So given that we've only been together for 2 years, that's a really good. Next year we want a championship though. Happy to answer any questions.
Ron?
Dave, I have 2 questions. On page 5, you talk about 800 parking permits been issued since April. Is there any breakdown as to how many were on each neighborhood, like Westbrook and Hampton Place? Do you have an actual breakdown?
I do not have that information with me, but I can certainly check into it with Cheneng to get that for you.
Yeah, nice. And the second question is under internal staffing. We're looking for 2 fitness center attendants. And you've been interviewing. Have you made any hires?
Currently, right now, we've put out 2 letters of offer to 2 fitness staff attendants. Correct.
I guess this is a question about staffing that maybe not specific to Dave, so it might be to Paul as well. And it was under his purview, but I forgot to ask it. Was just an update on the board approved position of the new teen and tween. I'd love to hear more about how that's going and if if we're looking to hire yet.
Yes, certainly. Thank you for bringing that up. So Hanny, who was our previous youth and coordinator, was a successful applicant to move into a programming position with the UNA. So that has helped us to revamp that entire position along with the board's approval to change it to a full-time position with select hours. We did have the posting out. The posting closed this previous Sunday. And right now, in speaking with Alina, the head of the programming team, we have apparently about 21 really good applicants. So we'll begin to review those these week. The expectation is that we will have somebody in for August the 1st.
Thank you.
Sandy, go ahead.
Firstly, I thought that this report especially mentioned about volunteers, newcomers, and connected communities, youth, and seniors. Very clear. So good, very good. And it's easy to understand all these different categories. My question is about the programs. How our managers approved programs. Why I ask this question is last week, in front of the Old Bank Community Center, there is a dance group, and the instructors instruct maybe 10 people there. They play the sound. It's so noisy. It's so loud, and I talked with them. The instructor told me that this was approved by our manager, by your manager. And I also asked our receptionist at Old Bank Community Center. So I don't know what the procedures, how our managers consider about the residential place regarding the noise and these programs. Thank you.
Yes, certainly, and thank you for bringing that up. So when we get into the summer mounts, some of our instructors do have within their contracts that they can run internal and external programs to make use of the parks, the space. Traditionally, these are more of our yoga classes that do use a more silent approach. The music's a lot lower. I was made aware from our front desk staff that there were a couple of complaints regarding to this dance program. We did have a conversation with the instructor to ensure that the noise was kept down to more of a minimum moving forward. Generally, these programs are approved more at the supervisor position and not necessarily the manager position, but in the holistic approach of what we do, I do get to oversee that, and we do have guidelines that we expect them to adhere to. And in this case, as we heard, the music was too loud, so we have asked them to keep that music down.
Any other questions for Dave? No? Okay, thank you. Athena, you're up. Finance report. Oh, sorry, Wegland. Forgot Wegland. Can't forget Wegland. Operations sustainability.
Thank you, Jake. Good evening, everyone. The report is before you. Happy to answer any questions. Just two highlights in terms of the operations report is updates of the dates in terms of the UNA road marking updates. So this work is scheduled for this Saturday on June 27th. I'm pending for the confirmations which depending on the weather. So if there's any subject to change of the weather, we will update the strata accordingly. And the next item that I would like to provide an update in terms of the project dates is the Hampton Concrete Restoration Project. So the project has received a green light from the Campus and Community Planning permit review and applications. We are currently scheduled the project for late July to early August. And happy to answer any questions.
Rod, go ahead.
I have two questions. Wegman, on page 12 of the report, we're talking about University Hill pathway enhancement. Who pays that? Does VSB pay part of it? Do we pay all part of the cost of this work?
Thank you, Ron, for your inquiry. So the UNA pay for the pay for the project because the project itself initially started all in the UNA managed area.
But it goes over to the school board property?
Correct. There's a slide going over toward the school board property, which is connecting to the sidewalk. That was as part of the response coming from UBC regarding how to enhance the usability.
Okay, but on record, we're paying all of it, and VSB has not offered to pay any of it. Okay, and the second question, now, talk a tree replanting report that you're bringing up next month, we're going to table. It's my understanding that the UBC arborist is reviewing it. My concern here is, the people on Hampton Place probably pay a very large service levy, and part of the concept here is to have their input. So I'm going to make this request of you. You talk to the arborists, and you and I have talked about having a meeting with all the stratas. The arborists should attend. Okay, this should not be seen as coming from down top to these people, because people have to live on the street. And, they've had trees 35, 40, 50 years that are going to be coming down with replacements. I think it's important that we show some sense of, their considerations. So I would ask you if we could arrange for the arborist to be at a meeting where we bring the strata heads in to review the program when you have it ready.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. So during the meeting, I have provide such request to the UBC landscaper, and then at that point, the UBC landscaper is currently reviewing to see if she can attend the meeting or if it will be providing a written report in terms of the recommendation. So that's we will update the strata team and the strata and the board regarding that information.
Thank you, Wegland. Any other questions for Wegland? No. Okay. Oh, Michael, sorry.
Wayland, this is in regards to the email that I had sent earlier. The old barn sort of community center tree trimming that occurred, which I just, if you could just give the board a little bit of clarity on the process by which the decision was made specifically to cut down all the branches on a very favored tree by our youth for tree climbing. I'm just wondering, like, how that occurred, why that occurred.
Thank you, Michael. So around the Old Barn Community Center, there is landscape area that has been largely neglected by our previous landscaping management team. And then the reason why we noticed such area is mainly due to one of the nearby building that they have highlighted for the landscape area, or the area right next to the building. The tree has been overgrown, hasn't been managed. So that draw our team to visit on site to do a preliminary visit, and we do acknowledge the area that's right next to the building. It's not managed properly, and then what we do is we also subsequently invited our municipal team on site to review the whole Oban area. So initially, the request is overseeing an area of undermanaged by our team, and then subsequently we invite our municipal team to have a look of the whole area. And basically, our finding is we noted for those areas that I responded to you in the email has not been managed properly. And also it has been overgrown, that it create overpopulate and potentially affecting the tree health. And as a result of that, our team determined let's bring it back, reduce the overpopulated tree branch. It may have, from your perspective or from other perspective, may have been over pruned, which because of the area hasn't been managed properly for quite a significant time by the previous team. And that is why we have been doing a more major pruning in the area, cut back to reduce overgrown and let the area to regrow again.
I just want to comment on this because it seems like this was sort of a non-decision, but more of an arbitrary, like pruning, I don't know, overreach by maybe some management. But later on, we're going to talk about some of the outdoor recreational research that you all have done, which I'm applauding. But some of that research is that, the connection nature that our youth might have can come through climbing trees. And as an avid tree climber myself, it was a pretty abrupt and amenity that was taken away from the community when specifically that tree was pruned. Tens, if not, hundreds of neighborhood kids have enjoyed climbing that tree very specifically. And for it to be done in a manner that wasn't about liability or wasn't about, an actual decision, but rather an over pruning, maintenance, arbitrary decision, I think it just shows a slight gap in our operations oversight, because that was a big amenity for the kids of the neighborhood, that specific tree, and it makes me a little cringe a little bit that can happen in our neighborhoods with not even a decision. It's just sort of an arbitrary over pruning. And I just asked staff if we could figure out a way to make sure that something like this doesn't happen unintentionally again in the future. because it was just it went from being a major, pretty important neighborhood amenity for children, my children's age and older and younger, to climb that tree. And now that tree has been taken away, and not that it's dead, but there's no more branches for them to climb. And it's just a shame. That's all I want to say.
Moving on, yeah. Any other questions for Wegland? None? Athena, you're up.
Good afternoon, good evening, directors. My report is before you. I don't really have anything specific to highlight. For the month of June, pretty much it's like every other year that the focus is really audit. Just to get an update, we are actually at the very end of our audit, so should be on schedule that the next Finance and Audit Committee meeting, the auditor will be able to join us, and same as the next the next board meeting as well. So yeah, happy to answer any question you might have.
Any questions for Athena on that very detailed report? No? Okay, thank you. Next item is outdoor fitness equipment. Wegland, you have a report?
Thank you, Jake. So the report is before you, and I will just do a quick, brief introductions of the report, and then happy to answer any questions. So for the report, one of the reasons of why this report, the development of the report, is we noticed there is a strategic opportunity to serve our underserved group, which with our current public realm, we typically search for young children that is age in between 3 to 12 in the traditional recreation world. And then from our understanding and also from some of the community feedback, we noticed there's a gap to provide services to older teens and young adults, and also seniors. And looking at the current recreation trend, we notice the public realm design is shifting toward more of an intergenerational wellness. And then we also noticed with our recent engagement with the Westbrook Parental Group, we noticed some of the outdoor fitness equipment is also desired. So for this report, we are focusing on providing outdoor fitness equipment that is accessible, durable, and low maintenance. In terms of some of the equipment that I shared in the report, the key concept that to take away is most of the equipment in a la carte model. So basically, we can mix and match and combine different type of equipments. And in terms of the design of the equipment itself, there are a few options. Option A will be more of a centralized hub approach, similar to what we see in Vancouver Tisdale Park. That is a more of a concentrated, high-density fitness circuit model located either in a small area or under a shaded structures. And then option B's will be more of a spread out circuits, similar to what we see in the Burnaby Central Park, which outdoor fitness equipment stations along the pathways, existing pathways, for example, in the Westbrook, that will be able to embed fitness for the daily routine or just for combined with jogging routes. And another options that I share in this report is more tailored towards the underserved early teens and early adults. It's a more dedicated, high challenge, dynamic course, obstacle course that aimed to fill the gap for the recreations. Within the report, there is a quick highlight in terms of the cost and price of different options. The price range can vary quite significantly from a smaller scale, modular outdoor fitness equipment project starting at $65,000 to $120,000 for the equipment alone, to a more highly dedicated, comprehensive optical course that can cost up to $400,000. And in terms of the budgeting and the costing of equipment is typically 50-50. So 50% goes to the equipment purchase, and then another 50% goes to the site preparation and other soft costs related to that and installation. And another items that I would like to highlight is the ongoing Canadian and US tariff and dispute has currently placing some pricing consideration for us because it will likely increase the cost of any equipment purchase from the US side, which effectively affect the manufacturer that we may be able to choose down the road. And finally, for this project, in terms of a logical next step is we will follow what we are presenting and work with the dog park project. So it means it's anticipate the board will establish a dedicated working group to oversee the project, to coordinate with UBC regarding the siting and analysis follow-up, and also to guide the UNA staff for the design and also any engagement activities. And that's about it from the report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Wegland. Great initiative for sure. Any questions for Wegland? Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, just when it comes to the sort of funding sources that we're looking at on the table, page 4 of 7, these are just the available funding sources, right? So we're not looking at, you say that there's 3 different scales that we're kind of looking at, but all of those obviously would fall under the community work funds. So the community work fund is just a pool that you're pulling from. This is just a table of available balances. Is that correct?
Yes, so for the available funding tables that I share in there, those are the available funding that's, I rank it from first priority. It means the easiest to retrieve to the last priority, which the funding is currently available, but it would be ideally the last funding source to pick out of the 4 that is available. Maybe I'll just go a little bit into the funding model, and really thank you, Michael, for bringing this up. So in terms of the funding model, the first one that is available is a board initiative funding, which currently have approximately $190,000 in there. It's a pool of fund that is based on board direct community enhancement projects. So it's a funding that is currently available right away. And then the second priority will be the Community Works Fund under the Recreation Infrastructure category. So this funding currently we have about 1.2 million available, but having said that, for this funding, it will need a longer time to retrieve because we will need to work with both the Metro Vancouver, the Electoral A, as well as UBC in order to go through all the approval process. And then the third options that we have is the UNA 2025 and 26 operation surface, which we currently have about $700,000 in there. And finally, the last option that is available is the UNA Internal Capital Reserve, which currently have approximately 1.6 million.
Ron?
Okay, so Wigland, what are you asking the board for now? Are you supposed to set up a oversight committee and start talking this out, or what?
So at this point, the report was brought forward for information. It's really an idea from the staff level that we want to make the board aware of. If the board is interested, there are some potential next steps, and we have actually provided to the acting chair and chair a potential motion if the board wants to consider a motion, but we didn't include it as a recommendation. But if there's enough interest, the next step would be to strike a bit of a task group, really following the model that we use for the dog park, do some engagement, do some site analysis and determine a location, do some discussion about what kind of exercise facility we might be interested in, and then all moving towards building an actual project or developing a project.
Yeah, I think it's a great initiative. I don't have the motion though.
Eagle's got a question, maybe.
Hi, Eagle, go ahead.
Yeah, my question has to do with this idea, Paul, you just mentioned of striking a task force and then potentially doing some kind of community engagement. It points towards a question about, kind of where this idea came from. I think it's potentially, quite promising. So I don't mean to speak against it, but I'm not sure, from whom the idea came and how we know exactly what kind of a facility or a set of, equipment or whatever that might appeal to both our tweens, teens, as well as our adults who want to stay more fit, I guess.
Yeah, well, where the idea came from was really staff recognizing that we've got lots of playgrounds in the neighborhoods that are primarily aimed at younger age children and youth. With this discussion about trying to target or provide opportunities for older, that teen and tween category, staff were just looking to the gap to see what it is. Now, internally, we've discussed the idea of this kind of exercise facility over the last, I don't know, probably year and a half as a potential, but we never really had an opportunity to bring it forward or really saw a space, how it could be funded potentially with other priorities. So given the circumstances and the potential funding sources as we've laid out on the table, there is an opportunity now and the time seems ripe to bring it forward. As Wegland outlined, the board established, this board initiative funding in this budget. So there's, dedicated funding towards this kind of potential amenity. So so in terms of your question of where it came from, it really came from staff looking to fill what we perceived or saw or were hearing was a gap. Yeah, in terms of what actual, specific exercise equipment or devices or what the kind of exercise facility we might want to develop, I think that's still open. There's plenty of examples and links were provided. And that will be something I think we need to investigate further to see whether this is, a station by station exercise facility with a series of exercise equipment, or if it's more the kind of obstacle course sort of things, perhaps more aimed at that upper teenage users. But that's, I think, up for discussion. There's plenty of examples. The only other point I would raise around why is that we've also, heard loud and clear over the last 2 years about capacity in this facility and the old barn facility that we're stretched. And this is another opportunity to spread ourselves out a little bit and provide the opportunity for other recreation opportunities outside of our facility to perhaps ease up a bit on some of the capacity demands of the physical facility. And just another way of us trying to look at how to fill our gaps and manage the facilities we have in the best way possible.
Eagle, you have another question?
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering if Carol, if you could speak to whether this model, like the dog park of a UNA task force with UBC would make sense, and also how you envision this linking up with the new park spaces in Westbrook South, and whether that would be a kind of a part of the conversation.
Thanks, Eagle. Happy to. Like the dog park process, campus and community planning would be happy to participate in a process with the UNA. I think it does first have to start with a siting analysis similar to what we did through the dog park review, just to make sure that we know that it can be successful and what the constraints and opportunities are of a site. So we'd be happy to embark on a very similar process, similar to what we did for the dog park, which I think turned out quite successful. Two other things I would say is that as part of that process, I think we could also draw on all of the engagement and feedback that we heard, both through Campus Vision and through the Westbrook Place Neighborhood Plan Amendment process, and draw on the wisdom of community feedback to help understand some of the needs and interests of the community around these type of facilities. So it would be helpful to pull that out and help inform this process. The other thing I think is looking at what's happening in adjacent communities. And I just did a quick search, and I didn't know this, but there is an outdoor gym at Lalem, and I'm sure Wegland, you're aware of that. But it might be worth just understanding what's happening in the broader context to help leverage and make sure that it's complementary. I think absolutely it ties into the work that we're undertaking right now in terms of the parks and amenities as part of Westbrook Place expansion. So definitely would consider that as part of exploring this process and working with the UNA on unpacking what the many opportunities might be to land something like this.
Thanks, Carol. Mike?
I actually applaud staff in the initiative of this. I think that this is a really great opportunity, as Paul stated, for sort of expanding the outdoor activity. I might present it as a possible starting place with the land use committee as a place to begin the conversation. And that being said, like, I know that of the options that you presented, the teens and tweens sort of middle ground is probably the one that is lacking on the campus as a whole. As Carol mentioned, there is sort of some outdoor equipment that's more tailored towards, I would say, adults and major, I use it over at Lalem. And then there's also sort of the sort of more playground equipment style workout that is down by the Symphony playground. And I imagine coming in the upcoming Westbrook South. So sort of in this larger category, but for something that might actually work very well on the sort of wraparound. I don't know. There's a lot of potential areas there, but it might be a good conversation to have in land use that could then get brought back to the board as an amendment, or sorry, a motion. Yeah.
Ron?
Okay, well, we're philosophizing quite a bit here, but I think we need to go forward. We need to give staff direction. And so you have a resolution there to set this task force. I think we should put it on the table and vote on it right now.
Okay, yeah, good comment, Ron. So I do have a motion here. I'll read it out. That the UNA board receive the report for information and establish an outdoor fitness project working group in conjunction with the UNA Land Use Advisory Committee to identify and propose potential equipment locations, and that staff be tasked with preparing the necessary coordination with UBC Campus and Community Planning to facilitate the feasibility and technical siting analysis of the locations selected by this working group. Do I have a seconder? Ron, all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Discussion?
Is there a discussion? Okay, sorry, discussion. Go ahead.
I just wanted to note, I'm fully in favor of the motion, but to just note that the way that it's worded, it suggests a somewhat separate process of the Land Use Advisory Committee coming up with locations and then staff bringing those locations separately to UBC. And that's not exactly what the task group with the dog park was. It was more of a discussion between UNA representatives, staff, and representatives of UBC to try to identify, viable places and equipment. So I don't mean to, to vote against or speak against the resolution. I just want to suggest that it'd probably be a good idea to kind of coordinate that process of the Land Use Advisory Committee considering possible locations and configurations and stuff like that together with a representative from UBC who will know the the possible locations, rather than us walk around and just say, oh yeah, let's put it here, let's put it here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks, Eagle. There was no intent that in the motion for the land use committee to be the body determining potential locations. That's really much more probably a technical analysis that we rely a lot on campus and community planning for. But it's really just to engage the land use committee on the project, get some engagement and some feedback on it, and have them, I think, participate where possible in helping move this forward.
Okay, do we need to vote again on this motion? Are we okay? We're okay, okay. Thank you. That brought up a lot of good discussion. It's a good initiative, and I'm sure it's got a long road to hoe yet. Next up is the UNA 25th Anniversary Celebration Report. Glenda, it's your turn.
Hello again. Just a really quick update on our activities for 25th anniversary, just outlined in this report. Particularly, I want to highlight the anniversary video that we're currently working on, which is kind of a hybrid of kind of a historical video and also kind of the current status of the UNA, also promoting some of the stuff, the current services that residents should be taking advantage of, and an invitation to participate in terms of, like telling kind of their kind of story about like their experience of living in the UNA communities and that kind of stuff. So that's the rollout of that video is being targeted for AGM, September 29th. At that point, we're also launching a web page that will have all the historical information that's highlighted in that video. Other stuff is, of course, you've seen the logo before, and we've got some more kind of commemorative apparel that staff will be getting ready to wear around the fall. And yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at. The timeline is outlined in the report as well. I'm happy to answer any questions about the report.
Thanks, Glenda. Any questions for Glenda on the 25th anniversary celebration? I see no questions. Thank you. Athena, it's your turn again. Finance and Audit Committee report. You have some things to go over with us.
Evening again. My report is before you. Just wanted to, before I share, I think just want to make sure that you understand this is a before audit result for our last fiscal year. So since we are undergoing the audit, so their final answer has not been released yet. So I have no further update at this moment that the result may changes. But that being said, for the next result presented by the auditor might be different because depends on the outcome of the audit. So I just want to make that very clear. So that being said, we concluded our last fiscal and then with a very strong and positive outcome. Thank you for the Finance and Audit Committee meeting. I think we spent quite some time, dissecting and then trying to understand what brings to a favorable result. So just a few highlights I would like to bring is, so there are actually some main factor, such as the insurance that we supposed to have a higher dollar value, but at the end we actually end up with quite significant of some saving. And then as well, there are I think there are also some timing differences with different issue that also bring us to a favorable result. But that being said, there's no impacting because of the positive outcome is a result of that will delaying some of the spending for this fiscal year that drag the result down. So there's no such things that we are aware of. So so the result is before you, and then I think the details are before you. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Athena? I know that the Finance and Audit Committee has gone over these reports ad nauseum, so I don't think we have any. Anybody else have any questions? No questions, thank you. So we go on to point 5, Governance and Human Resources Committee report, and that's Lauren, please.
Hi, everyone. So before you is the AGM report. It's pretty straightforward for this one. I just want to make a note that essentially I'm asking for the board to confirm the timing and then to confirm the notice that will be circulated. Noting as well that some of the content of the agenda may change depending on the results of our governance review and whether or not we are making any changes to bylaws. So the agenda might change slightly, but the timing remains the same. I don't know that I have much more to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Lauren on the report, AGM?
I might just add a little, just a little thing. I would want the board to see that we did make some slight changes to the agenda for this year to try and help the meeting move just a little bit more smoothly. In the past, we've had a whole series of opportunities for questions following, for example, following the chair's report, then a time for questions, and then the CAO's report and a time for questions. And we've tried to consolidate that a little bit. We have found over the last couple of years that turned into be relatively confusing for folks, and that questions that came weren't necessarily directly related to the report that had been presented, but were more general in nature. And so we're trying to consolidate that to put that into a location where it makes sense to have those general questions. So that's really the only significant change to the agenda, other than as Lauren pointed out, we have a space for special resolutions as necessary for bylaw change should they arise. If they don't, we'll just pull that out before the notice is sent out.
Thank you, Paul. So there's a decision requested here, so I need to read this motion. Motion is that the board confirm that the UNA will hold the 2026 annual general meeting on Tuesday, September 29th, 2026, commencing at 7 p.m. at the Westbrook Community Center. And that the board approved, do I have to read these separately or together?
You can do them together.
That the board approved the 2026 notice of annual general meeting package. Can I have a seconder? Any discussion? Eagle, this is your chance for discussion here. Michael?
I guess we could also get into this in the next piece, but I'm just wondering if there's a way to mitigate some of the more negative comments. There was a lot of side. There were some members with an agenda last year at the AGM, and they kind of took over the board processes of that AGM in a way that was counterproductive and that could have been much more productive in like a different context. And I'm just wondering if there's a way of making this AGM a more positive experience for both the community members and the board members. I don't know. It's just a discussion, so it's more of a question than anything else.
Ron?
Okay, going back to what Mike was saying, all of us who remember old cowboy westerns, there's something called heading them off at the pass. There's one individual comes and tries to throw all kinds of zingers on the finances and the financial statements and puts Athena in a bad position because she has to be polite on some of these insulting questions. So that one particular individual, Mr. Brad, I will personally volunteer to reach out to him and say, if you've got any questions ahead of time that we can answer without taking over the meeting, I'll be very happy to to do that.
Yeah, I think it's difficult in and Eagle's up next. I think it's difficult in a AGM to try to filter some of the comments that are going to come across. It's supposed to be open and democratic and fair, and everybody has their chance to speak, good, bad, or indifferent. But I think there comes a point where it's not just a specific question. It becomes almost personal and a little vindictive. So yeah, I think your analogy, even though I don't like analogies like that, but I think it works that you got to head them off when things start like that. So yeah. Eagle, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think by reorganizing the question periods a little bit, that will help somewhat. It'll keep the questions concentrated, hopefully kind of where they belong, so to speak. And that'll keep the finance questions in the finance section. And I would agree that ultimately we do need to give our members an opportunity to ask questions, and we've got to be, I think, really careful not to be seen to be censoring them in any way. And I don't think that was the intention of anyone here, but I appreciate the head them off at the pass idea. And I'll just say that with careful meeting management, and that'll be on me because, I'll be fielding the questions, we can often handle the ones that sometimes get a little critical or long-winded, and I think that's more a meeting management issue. I don't think it's a good idea to try to contact people in advance to tell them what they should or should not do at a say at a meeting. I think that would be counterproductive. I would recommend against that. But I'll work with the staff to try to make sure that the meeting is run in a way that allows for respectful interaction between the members and the staff and directors.
Ron, one more comment.
Responding to what you're saying, Eagle, Brad Chen went and started asking the auditor whether we were doing things on a financial incompetent basis. I've been an auditor. That's not the auditor's job, and nor should he be in a position to answer those questions. So if it comes up again next year, the chair has to say that's not appropriate. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say to Mr. Chen. You don't start asking Athena a bunch of questions that kind of trying to trick her. Okay? And he has a habit of doing that. And he has a little audience that sits there and applauds. And you don't see that being done at the AGMs of public companies I've been involved with, or meetings I've been to run public companies. So and it took a lot of the time away from the meeting progressing.
That's Sandy, go ahead.
I agree with Eagle's point. For AGM, it's a members meeting. It's good to have members ask questions to discuss. Just imagine nobody speak. We host this AGM. What's the meaning? That is the meaning for members to speak publicly. And the issue is how we to manage, how we to guide, to solve the problems. We need to focus on how to solve the problems. It's not about who need to speak, how to speak. I think it's good to help members to speak. Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy. I think the point is that we have to have an open session, which we're going to have, obviously. There have to be, reasonable controls in place, which is, I'll throw it back to the chair on that one to kind of throw out anchors at certain times when things kind of get offline. So we just have to deal with these things as they come up. Any other substantive question on this? So can we move? No. So I have the seconder. Can we vote on that motion? Do I need to reread it? No? Vote. All in favor? Okay. Passed. So I think Lauren, are you up again? Yes, Lauren, you're up again. Committee membership report, corporate, yeah. Go ahead.
Perfect. Thank you. So this report is coming on the heels of a recent call for membership where we had a very exceptional youth that had applied to the committee and found that it was not possible to have them appointed because of the rules that we have surrounding society membership, wherein in order to be a society member, a resident must be 18 years old. So I'm making a suggestion in this report that we consider a greater diversity of community members for committees, meaning that the board still has the opportunity to make the final say in who's chosen for the committees, but that we allow and encourage applications from exceptional youth. And in doing this, we would need to update the terms of reference for the advisory committees to remove the word resident member. So we would have to reword the terms of reference, I guess is what I'm saying. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I have a motion here. I'll read that, then we'll go into discussion about it. The recommendation is that the board allow resident individuals under 18 to be considered eligible to join advisory committees, and that the terms of reference for applicable committees be updated to reflect youth eligibility. Do I have a second? Eagle, thank you. Discussion?
Okay, is this recommendation based solely on one applicant, one person, one time, or is it?
I would say that maybe I'll start from a staff perspective. I think we have seen in the past other times when there are people under the age of 18 that could have benefited and that committees could have benefited from their involvement. It was highlighted in this last go around with the newspaper committee. But it's not just based on that one example. It really allows flexibility. And I should note, we've been quite careful with the wording of the recommendation, and that not all committees need to make this change, but committees that want to potentially provide that opportunity can, given if the board takes this direction.
Eagle, you had a question?
No, I withdraw my question.
Michael?
I guess my comment would be that like the devil's in the details here, and would it be just easiest to just because to say we're allowing residents and individuals under 18 to be considered like that then like doesn't just remove the wording, but now it opens it up to anybody under 18, which goes all the way down to 0. And I don't know how I feel about that, but if we're just asking to strike that a resident must be at least 18 years of age, that's a lot simpler, I think, of an ask. And then we don't have any limitation on those board members, rather than specifically opening it up to considering those under 18, which I think there's a difference between specifically pointing out this under 18 category rather than just eliminating the sort of cap that we're putting on it in another category. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so the 18-year-old thing comes specifically from the bylaws, so that's why that's there. And I think in removing that, it doesn't necessarily, So I guess the really big point to remember in all of this is that the board ultimately still chooses who is accepted. So a 5-year-old is welcome to apply for the land use committee, but whether or not they're successful in their application is an entirely different story. So kind of removing that 18 is a little bit of a moot point in that the board still makes the decision. So you may have a really strong 13-year-old and you may have a really strong 18-year-old, and it makes really no difference in the number.
Eagle, you were first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I initially had thought that it would be along the lines of what Michael just said. But can we revise the terms of reference of committees to just make it possible for anyone under the age of 18 to apply without having specific wording around, I don't know, I guess would it be exceptional youth under 18? Anyway, I think the idea was to just remove that limitation, and as Lauren said, then let the board decide who's the most qualified for the positions.
I think it's important to keep in mind that there's a couple of layers that there's the terms of reference. So the board still has control over any changes to the terms of reference. So a committee that wants to change the terms of reference to allow for someone under the age of 18 would have to make that request to the board, and the terms of reference would be adjusted in that way. And then there's the process of the board actually evaluating applicants for a committee that's made that change to their terms of reference. And as I said at the outset, there may be committees that this isn't appropriate for, or that the committee sees that it's not something that they support, and that would be fine. We've left it for that kind of flexibility to make sure that we can cover all of those bases. It just allows for that, and it's less around the focus of the 18 number, but more around the definition of a resident member, because that just has a whole domino effect linking it to our bylaws. That's something that we can't change.
Yeah,
and so it's really up to individual committees, I think, to make have a discussion and make some clear determination of what might be appropriate in terms of younger members or under 18 members, and then bring forward changes to the terms of reference for the board to consider.
Ron?
I've got 3 observations here. And I was one of these young parliamentarians, which I don't know if they still have it, where you used to go to schools, used to send nominees to Ottawa to pretend they were in the House of Parliament for a week during Easter time. I've also had to deal with some human rights complaints that can be super silly. So, we could actually have a parent of a 5-year-old come along and say, you're discriminating against me, my son, or my daughter, or, whatever. And so I'm making a suggestion here. Why don't we say resident individual at least 16 years old, and that gives us more flexibility here. I don't, I've got a couple of books at home on the psychology of the teenage brain development, and I'm a little concerned that if we just take 18 out, we start beating ourselves to some future woke challenges.
Again, it will be up to the board in the end. As I think tongue-in-cheek Lauren referred to, a 5-year-old could apply for a committee, or the parent of a 5-year-old, but the board has the ultimate decision-making and about who gets appointed to a committee. It's based on their merits and the evaluation of their skills and abilities and their applicability for a committee. And so that's not a there's no discrimination there on age or gender or orientation or anything of those areas. It's all about skills and abilities, and that would still reside. I mean, I think in this wording, we've tried not to be too pedantic for the board to say it will be this, it'll be minimum of X age and under 18, but leave it for the committees to determine what's appropriate for the committee. what they would like to recommend to the board. And again, in the end, it would be up to the board to make the determination about whether these changes to the terms of reference happen or not. But it's really just setting the stage for the flexibility to allow, I mean, we've always kind of termed it exceptional young people to participate in the committees.
Ego, one final comment?
Yeah, I just would like to echo what Paul said, and I think if for some reason a particular committee, you know, doesn't want to have people under a certain age, that's up to them, or it's up to the board ultimately to decide. But we can do it on a committee by committee basis. So I would just express my support for the resolution as it stands.
Michael, one final comment, then we'll go
Yeah,
to
sorry,
a vote.
I guess I'm just very confused about the resolution and what it affects, because it seems as though we're being asked to allow resident individuals, so non-society members under 18, because the society member has to be 18, that's a whole bylaw thing. And that the terms of reference for the applicable committees, so what are the applicable committees? I guess I just need a little clarity on what we're deciding in this resolution, because it seems like, is it all committees? No. Okay.
Terms of reference for advisory committees. So that's SEAC, land use, and
Editorial committee.
Newspaper.
and the newspaper committee.
And newspaper, okay.
It doesn't affect the standing committees, so the finance and audit or governance and HR, because those are board member only committees.
Okay. I guess that's clear.
Okay, Sandy, one more comment, then we're going to vote.
Okay, I think this is a good initiative, a good idea. Firstly, that is only advisory committee, and we can include teens, youth to join, especially focus on their questions, their interest. And then finally is board to make the decision. So that we can handle it. So I strongly support. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. Okay, do I need to reread this motion? So we've got the motion in front of us. We have a seconder, and all in favor? 3. Only 3. So.
Yambo's in favor as well.
Oh, Yambo's in favor. Okay, thanks, Yambo. Motion passes. Thank you. Okay. No, we got one more thing and then we'll close. Insurance renewal update, Whiteland, you want to give us some good news there?
Thank you, Jake. I'm trying. So the report is before you, and I would like to also note that there is a supplementary report that is submitted late after the initial report has been presented. So the supplementary report that is submitted on June 19th provide the most up-to-date information regarding all the insurance number. And without further ado, I'll just quickly go over the insurance summary and then happy to answer any questions after. In terms of the insurance, a quick update is we have received all the quotes as of June 18th for all our insurance. That's including the directors and officers liability, property liabilities, content plus tenant improvement, earthquake building, deductible buy-downs, cyber security and privacy, and also the most important is the commercial general liability plus the abuse coverage. A quick summary of the 2026-27 insurance renewal that we received on the June 18th. In terms of the commercial general liability, we were able to stay on a flat rate. So it means there is no rate adjustment. The main change or the dollar value change for the premium is mainly due to the increase of our report revenue from last year. And for the directors and officers liability is on the second year of a 2-year term, so it means there is no change. And then going into the property liability content. For this specific insurance policy, because of the recent review, it is determined the UNA is responsible for the tenant improvement coverage that is overseeing both childcare facilities, specifically the one in Firth Nobel Park, newest childcare facilities, as well as the Vista Point childcare facilities. Both are operated by the YMCA. And because of that, our property liability has increased by approximately 154%. And we are currently working with UBC Campus and Community Planning to review if additional tenant improvement coverage is applicable to other UNA licensed facility, more specifically for the Westbrook Community Center and the Oban Community Center. Quickly going into the cybersecurity policy, there is no change in terms of the premium. And then, sorry, I will have to go back for the earthquake building deductible buy down. So with the most recent update on June 18th, we have received positive news from UBC where the deductible percentage has been reduced from 10% down to 5%. And it means immediately we have received savings out of that. And finally, another also noticeable reductions is from the property insurance that is purchased by UBC on behalf of the UNA. For this specific policy, we estimate the reduction is at over 50%. And all in all, because of the more favorable market conditions, the reductions in the earthquake buy down, as well as the reductions in the expected UBC property insurance, we noted the overall premium has reduced by 2.21%, which is will be fully absorbed and covered in our existing allocated budget line items. And that's it from me. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Wegland. That's a good renewal. We have a recommendation here. I'll read that and then we can have discussion. The recommendation is that the Board of Directors approve the comprehensive insurance package as presented and authorize the CAO to execute all necessary agreements on behalf of the UNA to bind the insurance coverages for the policy term of July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2027. Do I have a seconder? Ron, thank you. Discussion? Questions for Wegland? Nobody wants to talk about the hot topic of insurance there, Wegland. That's a good report. I like that report, so. Okay, if there's no questions, can we have a vote? Go ahead. All in favor? Passed. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. There's no unfinished business, no news business, and we can go into adjournment. And I have a recommendation here that I need to read out. That the board adjourn into a closed session to discuss matters related to discussions and dealings with the entities or individuals where disclosure of the information being discussed could be harmful to the UNA's interests, and the approval of minutes for a closed session or restricted closed session of a board meeting. Seconder? Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Dinner. Let's come back at 7:05. I don't know what you're gonna do, Eagle or Yanbo. I don't know what you guys are doing, so.
I think I might not come back for the closed session because there's not a lot on that. So
In that
We
case,
appreciate your participation in the first half. Thank you.
and get tucked in.
yeah, thank you guys. Take care.
Didn't go too bad.